really get that moving because you have to sacrifice the land every time it comes into play. You need exploration or mana bond or...
So there's some sort of judge call going on down there?
So it results.
Right, he missed his trigger.
It's his challenge.
If
it's his, and he cast it, he said okay.
Oh, he dropped the first catcher with the chalice for 1 on the table.
He does that.
Right. He put a lord on the stack.
So in this case, this is a mistrigger. It is definitely to you. There's no provision in the policy to back up in this situation because it's a mistrigger, not a game advantage. Because it is a warning, and please play carefully, especially given that it's your turn.
Yeah.
Okay?
Alright. Okay.
Yeah, the judge
Looks good.
saying that was it's mistrigger, it's a little too late, and gets in for 7. I mean, to be fair, the mana works out that he could have just paid blue, and then used Cavern
For the curse catcher?
for the curse catcher.
Yeah.
There's a glacial chasm in his hand.
But without some of the... I mean, he can't get a mana bond or exploration with the chalice for 1, and glacial chasm doesn't really work as a plan turn after turn after turn.
It gets him to turn.
Yeah. I mean, you get to pay the cumulative upkeep for a couple turns, but I mean, it goes, what, 2, 4, 8? So we're looking at 2 and 4?
Yeah. Is that Mazabeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this...
Here comes another Lord of Atlantis.
Yeah, this is a bit of what I'm worried about. Like, that maze is...
And here's another Lord of Atlantis.
That's it?
With Phantasmal Image.
Even if he sends home the biggest one, that is 15? Yeah, I think you had to go with Chasm there.
Yeah, scoop him up. Merfolk takes game 1.
Even without either Lord there, I think he's getting put to like 4.
Right.
So you might as well eat the extra turn with the Chasm as opposed to eating up your life just with the attack.
Wow. So let's take a look at these players' sideboard. Oh my gosh. There's a card in George's Fleet sideboard that is so disgusting in this matchup. I don't even want to show it to you.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
George is playing the one deck in this room that is barely punished by Back to Basics.
I had mentioned Sabo's Web earlier for locking down some of those things. Back to Basics, I can't even imagine. There's, what, Off Forest or something in his opponent's deck? I mean, most lands run Off Forest. Yes, there's Off Forest. I mean, there's probably a very good reason that his opponent has 4 Croson Grips. Yeah.
But we could see the Choke versus Back to Basics.
Yeah. Choke versus Back to Basics. Except one of them will have 4 Croson Grips, and the other one, not so much.
Right. But George's deck does put a ton of pressure.
Yes.
On the land stack.
But as we saw, like Chalice for 1, I really think you have to get off the board. So much of your game plan against Merfolk is going to rely on multiple lands a turn, so you're going to need your exploration or your mana bond.
Right.
You have to get something going with Life from the Loam, and if you can't accomplish that, there's really not much to talk about.
Right. So that crop rotation for 1, shut off. Yeah, 4 explorations, 2 mana bonds.
Yeah,
4 crop rotations and 4 gambles that are in.
Yeah, Chalice for 1. I mean, we'll see a lot more of it later in the day when we move over to Vintage. But it's quite. I mean, according to George, it's the reason he didn't drop a match yesterday. He's like, I just have Merfolk with Chalice of the Void, and you know what? People just can't handle the pressure without being able to deal with their brainstorms and ponders. I mean,
against the decks that are there are decks that have 21 drops in their list.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, at worst, when you Chalice for 1 a Miracles deck, it's getting a Force Will and a blue card. But if it hits, I mean, how do they deal with the insane amount of pressure coming from a Merfolk deck?
here in the background right now as we're getting started. The Vintage Championships are getting started.
Great.
So we're going to see, probably 1 or 2 rounds will be played out by the time we get done with our topic here. 10 rounds of Swiss. So what is that, 500 players? Did they get over 500?
I don't know if it's 5, because we were 744 in Legacy with 11 rounds of
Right.
Swiss, so I'm a little out of it where the cutoffs are at, but I can't remember the last time there was a 10 rounds of Swiss Vintage event. It was probably, when it wasn't Vintage, it was just called Magic.
Yes. Yeah, I think I might have. Well, I didn't run. I think we ran a 10-round tournament back in the old Grey Matter days, but I don't think it was Swiss. I think it was single elimination.
Yeah, like I participated in Chicago in like '95. I participated in a 512-person single elimination
Right.
tournament that, it was just Magic. It was boxes, and back then you could play 4 Chaos Orbs of all things.
Right.
Well, try fitting 512 people in a room where you could play with 4 Chaos Orbs.
Yeah.
They were interesting.
So while these guys finish up their cyber, give us a little preview of what we're going to expect to see out of Vintage today.
Out of Vintage today, I think you're going to see a ton of workshops. There are a ton of workshops, a ton of apparently dredge. Apparently, a lot of people came in with dredge because workshops is so powerful, and that is their bad matchup. That is the paper to their rock. Or at least that's what everyone claims. I also think you'll see a lot of Belcher. A lot of people have decided they have found ways to get around Mishra's Workshop decks with the Belcher deck. If that's true, I mean, it makes the Belcher deck incredible. We shall see.
That's a deck that's won the VSL, right?
Randy has done very well with it in VSL. He made the finals of the. There's a vintage event during the last winter on Magic Online. Well, and I think LSV and Randy played each other in the finals of the event there also. But
LSV, by the way, is in the field today playing Vintage.
yes,
He was at Pat Cox's wedding, which was taking place in Pennsylvania yesterday, and conveniently that lined up.
he flew into Philadelphia anyways and drove from Philadelphia to the wedding, and so he just scheduled his flight out for late tonight. And he goes, "I hope I'm doing well enough that I miss my flight."
I was just saying, I hope very late tonight.
Yeah, if not, then I guess I just catch my flight.
Yeah. So who do you going back to our matchup here between Merfolk and Lands as these guys get close to being done with sideboarding? Who do you like here after game 1?
Well, the guy who's up a game.
No, I meant just in terms of like post sideboarding. Like how do you like the matchup between the two decks?
Like if they were to play 10 games post sideboard, I think Merfolk probably still has the edge.
Okay.
I hadn't realized how that Chalice plays out. I mean, as I was thinking about it, I was just thinking of all of the, mazes and glacial chasms. His opponent only has 1 wasteland.
And the thing is, no permission here to stop. If you have the Chalice in your opening hand, it's going to resolve.
Yeah,
right?
it's there.
I mean, he can kill it, but it's going to resolve.
I think the Lands player has to probably at least send back their first 7 to look for a 1-mana development spell.
So I have a couple of updates. Kyle Rome has already won his match against Max Ambrose, who was our Splinter Twin player from yesterday. So it was a good run. But
he has a bad habit of losing the first round each day.
Yeah, Kyle Rome playing Grixis Delver. So one of the 3 Grixis Delver decks in this bracket is advanced to the semifinals. The other 2 are playing in game 3 right now at the bottom of the bracket. So we're going to have a Grixis Delver mirror in the semifinals for sure. And Charlie Holland playing 4-color Delver is up a game on Akash Naidu and his Omnicolor.
All right.
Well, and meanwhile, we're underway here, and Grove of the Burn Willows into Gamble for Kevin King. The most appropriately named card in all of Magic.
I mean, in this deck, it's not much of a gamble. You're usually getting like Life from the Loam or Punishing Fire or these things that hit the graveyard for a moment.
So the game is rigged?
A little bit. Yes. They're gambling in a game where they've set their odds.
Oh, there's a forest.
And there's an exploration. I'm not used to that art on it.
Is that the conspiracy? I don't even...
That part I can't answer.
Yeah.
But that is exploration.
Okay.
So we got to report in that our Omnitel matches, our Omnitel player has evened up the match 1-1 against Charlie Holland.
So Dark Depths comes down with the extra land drop.
Yeah, and now you're looking at him being able to crop rotation to put the stage into play and hopefully beat his opponent before he can even get the 4th land down to threaten bouncing the Mirror Age token.
Right. Wow. Pithing Needle?
Pithing Needle. Probably, naming Thespian Stage.
Yeah, I was just say you have to name Thespian Stage.
And there's a life in the loam, so you might see him start rotating for... Yeah, the Pithing Needle is indeed on Thespian Stage.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But no matter what happens, he's slowed him down enough that he's going to have to attack his Merit Lage into 4 mana, if that's the direction he's headed.
Although George has gained a little life of Grove of the Burnwillow, so he can actually take 1 Merit Lage hit.
Fair.
and just sorcery speed the Harbinger. So there's Chalice.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have to rotate here. You already have the Life of the Loam in the graveyard.
Keeps his forest. He knows those back to basics are on the sideboard. You guys have had access to each other's deck lists.
So George is now contemplating Force of Willing that crop rotation.
And he will. Pitching Phantasmal Image.
And at this point, I mean, he has nothing to image.
Yeah, makes total sense. And knocks Kevin King down to 1 land. But he does have Life from the Loam coming.
I mean, I'm not sure what the most dangerous card he's going to rotate into there is. Maybe because I mean, even Tabernacle is not a big threat right here.
Do you think Kevin maybe even just wanted him to count? Like, he's sure.
Well, right, because so in game 1, I definitely like that move, just Force of Willing the search, but he has to be worried about Choke. Like, Choke is a game ender. I mean, he hasn't drawn a Cavern, or at least hasn't put it into play.
Right.
And he knows his opponent has Rishadan ports. It's not like he can save up for a spell here and a spell there.
And when you have Exploration to play, Life of the Loam is a little extra sweet.
Yes.
Get 3 lands, play 2 of them.
Yeah, this is going to start getting a little crazy. Yep, put 3 lands in the graveyard, bringing back my Life from the Loam. I think I have a game plan.
Which included Wasteland and Misty Rainforest.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be wasting all your non-basics, choking the islands if he ever stops Life from the Loaming. I mean, obviously he's never going to have access to a choke if he stays the path here.
Thinking about the maze.
Oh, sure. I mean,
he left the Misty.
And remember,
he also got the Thespian Stage.
Well, he might as well get the Thespian Stage and the Wasteland into play. I think you limit your opponent's choices on the Cavern, but you're playing 4 Krosan Grips. With the Thespian Stage in play,
right.
At any moment, you can destroy the Needle. George is now Force of Willed, so he's back to 20. And it is just 1 hit from the Merit Lage token. and now that you're running off of exploration and life from the loam, you can make a lot of 20/20s. You can make a 20/20 every turn if you really care to. And now he's drawn Crows and Grip off the top. So I think this is Land's game right here, right now.
So he decided to start drawing the card.
Yes.
Like, I've got enough mana to operate. Is that how that works normally? You're like, okay, get to myself to some point where I'm like attacking your resources enough. I have enough lands to do stuff. Now I want to actually see a fresh card.
Right. So, and he still had a Wasteland in hand to take care of the non-basic. The lands in his graveyard weren't going to do what he wanted to do, so it was time to start drawing cards. Yeah. And this end of turn step is not going to go the way George wants it to. Looks like he's about to get something of his own chaliced. Oh no, we got ported. I'm sorry. I thought he was about to cast a 1-mana spell.
No. He got Richard imported. Gonna see Crows and Grip at the end of the turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's just grip the Pithing Needle, knowing there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, if he wouldn't have ported, I believe he could have gripped the needle and activated the stage. Just ended this.
Some calligraphy in place. Does have the Harbinger Tide, shows it to his opponent.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like giving him the access to the island and ending the game. Wait, does it land with 10 counters on it tap for mana?
No.
No? Okay. So my apologies. He couldn't have.
He couldn't grip there, yeah.
I fall into that common trap of assuming all lands tap for mana.
Well, they do now, right? But that was a throwback land when they printed it. So.
Yeah. The old Island of Walk Walk style of land.
Up there to sort of keep the one attacker at bay. He's got Crows and Grip waiting in the wings. He's got Merit Lage ready to spring forth from her icy prison at any moment.
I mean, this is just, I think this is one of the positions where the lands deck has settled into the control role here. He's just going to keep porting, keep developing his board, keep getting more lands in play until he can Crows and Grip and make the token on a turn where his opponent is just tapped out.
Click my loan.
Sounds like you're talking about a card that's been, very powerful for George in this event. And the question is whether or not there was an opportunity to click a loan. But Crows and Grip, end of turn, takes out Chalice. Draws a card. Now it's interesting, by asking that question about click, is he representing that he has a blocker that maybe he doesn't necessarily have? Is he asking some question to make to have Kevin pump the brakes here and not make a Merit Lage token? Or
It could be anything. I think once that land gets wastelanded on Kevin's turn, and I didn't see him tap it, but he may have just announced mana. I believe that's a click. And
he's
he is
clicking
clicking himself. Does his opponent not have the Life from the Loam in his hand? I guess he knows he has to deal with a 2020. Life from the Loam is one of those cards that I think you dream about clicking. like I'd love to put that on the bottom of your deck.
Yeah, we've seen George click in response to Stoneforge activations. Gonna show another Silvergill Adept from his Silvergill Adept. Draw a card.
Okay, so
Cavern Souls into Copious Wastelands.
Yep, so at this point it's just whether or not his opponent has a Punishing Fire to get that flyer out of the way. I don't know if he has, I don't believe he's tapped that Grove of the Burning Willows to gain.
Alright, here comes a 2020.
One so far.
One Merit Lage token. Does he have Punishing Fire in his graveyard?
I mean, it's, bringing it back is still going to leave your opponent at 1 life.
Right.
And then your token still gets bounced. So at this point, it's just bring back the stage and the depths.
Oh, alright,
Let's just do this again. I have an Exploration. I'll just drop them both. Attack you with my 2020 go.
That's kind of disgusting, actually. Like, yeah, I'm going to play 2020. You have to deal with it. And by the way, I could just make another 2020.
Yeah.
Pretty soon thereafter.
Double Dark Depths.
I've seen people do that. That ends badly.
Yeah, that's not the greatest.
Well, I guess it doesn't end as badly as it used to.
Yeah, you still get to pick one, but
Alright. Plays a Thespian stage, plays a Wasteland. Says, alright, rumble for 20.
oh, Thespian Station Wasteland. It's just... yeah, no bouncing this untapped creature. Yeah, he drew it back to basics. However, that is not going to get it done.
Wow. Doesn't have the mana
Falls
to
into the
resolve it.
category of too little, too late.
So we're going to get a game 3. See if we can get some updates on the other matches in our bracket. Do we have any other results?
I mean, so much of this matchup comes down to if he has the 1 mana land developing spell or not, an Exploration or a Mana Bond. I saw some questions in the text, and I saw it answered, but I wanted to confirm the art for Vintage Champs this year is a reimagining of Mox Emerald.
Yeah.
It looks really sweet. Hopefully we can get a picture of it on camera.
It's beautiful, yes.
Yeah. So Mox Emerald is the prize at Vintage Champs today.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. We had the Tundra art on camera last night, which is the prize here for the Legacy Champs.
Yep.
We talked about the nice little thing they do where it also is accompanied by an oversized reproduction of the card.
Ah.
So that way, if perhaps somehow you get separated from your artwork, you
Just
still
in
have
case.
you still have a really nice commemoration of your victory.
Yeah, they used to lay out the art like they used to mat it with a card around it.
No,
So-
they have that. They did that as well this year.
Oh, the emerald I saw was just the art, and next to it was a giant card.
Oh yeah, no, the emerald has been since matted, probably since you last saw it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, they do them. They're gorgeous.
They're wonderful. I'm lucky enough to see one every day.
Which one do you have?
So, Owen Turtenwald and I were in the finals of Vintage Champs in 2010-ish.
Right.
And when we split the finals, he wasn't as interested in the art. But we also made a deal, like, if I ever sell it, he just gets half.
Sure.
So
Which
it's hanging
card-
in my office now.
Which card is it?
The Sapphire.
It's wow. That's
Yeah.
pretty nice.
So, but yeah, no, I have the art to that Sapphire and the art to Dark Confidant in my office at work.
Very
So,
nice. See, you know, there's one guy who collects these vintage and legacy trophy pieces.
Yeah.
And he hates you.
yeah, it's like, yeah, no, I'm too much of a purist from that point of view. It would take an incredible sum for me to ever consider not seeing it and hanging in my office.
Right. That's very.
And thankfully, Owen is nice, but he doesn't really mind either. I mean, we had a split worked out at the time, and you know what?
Yeah.
It works out for everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. So game 3 on the play now for the Merfolk deck.
I think on the play matters a lot, but I think exploration and mana bond matter more than everything.
Right.
He can't chalice it in time. He can't do anything about it once it hits. And I don't think he can keep up with more than one land a turn from the lands deck.
Right.
I mean, Back to Basics certainly does a lot of work if it hits and sticks, but
So we have another. It sounds like Akash Naidu with Omnitel has defeated Charlie Holland playing 4-color Delver. So we have Omnitel, Grixis Delver in our semifinals, and now we're waiting to find out if the 4th member of our semifinals is playing Merfolk or playing lands, which also means as soon as we're done with this match, we're going to turn around right into the semifinals.
right. Now, because I'm not a legacy expert, I don't know what game Lands has against Omnitel. Like, I really don't know what. I mean, after boarding, they can Krosan Grip in response to the first spell on the Omniscience.
Sure.
I don't, but so. So, although I think both of these players are great, I might be rooting for the Merfolk deck a little bit, see a little more interactive deck
yeah.
against the Omnitel deck.
The Merfolk deck's been pretty good against the Omnitel deck too. It has some islands to walk over.
Absolutely. Not that there's anything blocking.
Yeah, exactly. So there it is.
So there's that, and I mean, it's probably a reasonable keep for what is otherwise not a great hand. I don't know that the
Just to get the first turn
I mean,
exploration
his hand
down.
is 2 Punishing Fires, so that's all right. But I mean, once, like, if he can ever find a way to get a couple of Lords out, the Punishing Fires are so unwieldy.
Right, if he has some window where he can just go Lord.
Yeah, but I think just the exploration is enough to keep an otherwise so-so hand.
Wow.
Yeah, turn 1 exploration, 1 land, go. I would have cycled that Tranquil Thicket to see if I hit another land I wanted to put in play.
I mean, did we know if he has Life from Loam in his hand?
Regardless, I mean, if you're not going to play the Thicket, then bin it.
So there's your challenge for 1.
See, so yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have drawn anything to play. Now, I mean, we're back at the exact same place we would be otherwise, but.
Plays Misty Rainforest. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying he should have just cycled the Thicket and seen if he drew another land that
Yeah.
turn.
Maybe he just
Yeah.
draws a land he wants to put into play.
So, plays Silver Giladapt, reveals Lord of Atlantis.
Right, so I mean, you have to use the Punishing Fires to keep up here. I don't think you want to start dealing. You want to use your mana now. None. The Chrome Mox and the Mox Diamond and the Forest are always safe versus choke.
There's a Maze of Ith.
So, well, I mean, he just drew the maze, but drawing the maze does make not punishing fire at the end of turn better. He can just send the Silvergill Adept home and start blowing up lords.
Right.
Hopefully. George does play a full complement of Mutavaults to go with his lords. So that's probably that is the reason he only has one Wasteland.
Now a Chalice for 2.
Boy.
Wow.
Yeah, that Croson Grip he was holding from Back to Basics is now found a new target.
Alright, so we are going to see a Punishing Fire in response to the Chalice on the Silvergill Adept. He's going to let that resolve. And now Chalice 2. So now spells that cost 1 and 2 are going to get countered. But
I thought maybe he would maze there and just go to get his land in Croson Grip.
so we knew there was going to be another Grixis Delver going through to the top 4. We didn't know who it would be, Bob Wang or Ed D'Amico. It is Bob Wang. So Bob Wang versus Kyle Rowan, Grixis Delver Mirror on deck. So Lord of Atlantis. One of the oldest Magic cards.
Yes.
Thinking about activating. Like,
I mean, yeah. Do I really want to get this ported? Unfortunately, yes, you do. Oh, it wouldn't even get ported. It would just get mazed. Yeah, you've got to get that off the table.
Yeah. There's nothing I can do about that.
There's no countering it.
Yeah, how important is Croson Grip? 4 of them.
Yeah.
There are 4 of them.
If he had the option, there would be 6 of them.
4 in Kevin's sideboard. And not many decks can afford to play Back to Basics.
No. Not at all. Well, with his land draw, I mean...
He can barely afford it.
He can barely afford to play Back to Basics.
String upkeep. There's Lord number 2. That's going to prompt finally a crack of that Misty Rainforest. And Punishing Fire.
And now we just see if that gets Force of Willed. Oh, I mean, if that gets Force of Willed there and you just have a bunch of 3/3s on the board, it gets crazy. Just gets crazy. Especially when they're not copies of lords that just die to getting targeted.
Yes.
When they're actually lords, Punishing Fires just become completely unwieldy.
Yeah, there is a copy of a lord in his hand.
Right. Yeah, those just don't do it. I mean, he hasn't found a grove yet, but I find it hard to believe that it's going to take this deck too terribly long to find a grove. Well, then again, there is still Chalice on 1, so he's not rotating for it. He's not gambling for it, or for his life from the loam. He's stuck drawing a card a turn until he hits something that can break this game loose a little bit.
Yeah, this is the slackeriest exploration we've ever seen.
And that's why I mentioned in the beginning, I think it's still worth keeping with the 1 mana development spell, but the rest of the hand was a little suspect.
Okay, so here comes Phantasmal Image.
And you might notice that in George's hand is the lone Gilded Drake.
Ooh.
In case we get into any games where he chump blocks and untaps with the maze.
Is that Tabernacle of Pendle
It is
Vale?
indeed Tabernacle. So yeah, he's going to pay for a couple creatures and then get ported.
Yep.
I don't think I would leave him with the Cavern to allow him to cast a 1 mana Merfolk through his Chalice, but say la vie.
Another Phantasmal
More
Image.
copies. Many 4/4s.
Oh!
Yeah, that's not how that... Wow.
Maze of Ith kills a phantasmal image.
Maze of Destruction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's painful. So Tabernacle pays 2, gets ported.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see too many images charging into the maze anytime soon.
Yeah, costly lesson learned. So that's another one of his. That's Master of the Pearl Tribe.
And it's one of those things. What he'd really love to see is just a true name.
Yeah.
It's one of those. Let's get this show on the road. Drawing a chalice here, because you're going to be paying so much to Tabernacle for so long, I'm very tempted to chalice for 0.
Oh, interesting.
It's the only the other Mox Diamonds, but it's a legitimate thing. There's the Thespian stage. Is Tabernacle legendary?
Yes.
I hope so. I mean, he has a Dark Depths in his hand also, so they both come into play. And as it stands right now, he doesn't have any flyers to block with. So we could see this one wrapping up very shortly. Oh. Saying your phone is messing with it. Yep, so we'll see if there is something he can squeeze out to block with here.
I like how his non-mana producing lands just. He's like, oh, here are my spell lands. They go up here.
Yeah.
All right, there's Merit Lage.
Which he did not pay for, so it should be dead, right? What? Whoa, 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 whoa.
I guess. So you're saying he had to pay 1 from...
Right, there's a Tabernacle in play.
Yeah.
Not paying for Merit Lage is not a choice. Oh, well, okay.
Wow.
Oh, they're saying that Tabernacle is destroyed. Excuse me, I thought it was pay 1 or sacrifice
Oh, okay,
it.
okay. Very good.
Well, it would stand to reason that they understand their cards better than I do.
So there you have it. George Flete did not lose at all yesterday, but today he ran into the Maze of Ith, got lost, and it's the lands deck that advances. So we're going to see lands versus Omnitel in the semifinals, and Grixis Delver versus Grixis Delver.
Yeah, I have no idea what lands does against Omnitel, but we'll find out.
Yeah. Crosses his fingers and...
I mean, don't get me wrong. Omnitel was a large presence at this event. It's...
Yeah. So, all right, let's put George's deck list over here. Kevin King still alive. Bob Huang still alive. Kyle Roan, Grixis Delver still alive.